Sony Live is in its fourth year now. What is the Sony Live app all about? What is its positioning? Who is it targeted at?
So the Sony Live, probably, we've been around for now 4 years. It's been an interesting journey. We probably started off very early in the game. We found our feet maybe about 2-3 years back when we really started focusing a lot of our effort on it. A lot of that has got to do, obviously, with the environment falling into place. It's not just us who are sitting out in the space and saying, this is what we need to do. I think the environment started falling into place. We saw the mobile phones falling into place, and the broadband to an extent falling into place, and the content started coming in. And from a broadcaster point of view, it became the right time to start focusing on another form of consumption, another medium of consumption. I think that's where our story was. The last 4 years, the ride has been amazing. Maybe the last 18 months has worked very well, and it's true for the entire ecosystem. The last 18 months have been amazing for all of us. We focus a lot of our effort on being an entertainment app. We want to be the home of entertainment. We want to be the alternate destination for entertainment. We want to be the future of entertainment. And therefore, all our effort is around what we do in the entertainment space. The other is what we are not looking at right now. We think this is our space, and we'll consolidate and focus on that.
So it's entertainment covers, is it soaps, series, or is sport also part of it?
Movies, it's television content, it's short form content, anything that's entertaining, it's sports, it's the entire space of engaging people with fun content.
And that has worked in your favor, because if you look at it, when you think of Woot, kids comes to mind. When you think of Star Sports, when you think of Hotstar, sports come to mind. When you think of All Balaji, originals come to mind. Indian domestic. When you think of Netflix, large-scale productions. Amazon Prime with Inside Edge, which was recently, announced, just came on the app recently.
So somebody has to stand for entertainment.
Okay. So that works for you?
Absolutely, that works for us. We think that's the space. It's the space where emotional connect with the consumer is important. If you look at some of the campaign that we ran recently, which got great reviews, most of it was around talking at an emotional plane to the consumer. It's about talking to the sports fan, bringing out his emotion. It's about talking to the person who's watching our entertainment content or stuff which is watching in terms of our soaps, or he's watching some of our originals. It's all about bringing a certain emotion out. And I think that's where we want to play. In the first phase of any industry, we will find people will take positionings which are related to functional features. This is what I stand for, this is how you use, this is a different device, and you're trying to educate people on how to use devices or how to consume these things. I think now we've reached a stage where the industry is big enough to take positionings which are more to do with what is your connect with the consumer. And you step back and look at telecom, and what was about the little puppy following that kid. It was an emotional connect of the person with that network. And I think at some point in time, we think that there is an emotional connect we need to build with the consumer, which will be far more long-lasting than saying, I do only originals, or I do only sports, or I do only things. Because some of these things are fairly dynamic. We don't know how the ecosystem will evolve going forward, what will work, what will not work. But a connect with the consumer at a different plane probably works in the long run.
Okay, so what have been the landmark achievements so far? Secondly, what have you learned about what works, what does not, and about consumer habits, about the user interface, about engagement?
Oh, I think we're just starting off, aren't we? So we're just all starting off. What works, what doesn't work. We're all dipping our feet into...
Yeah, but 4 years, any of the salient features?
Yeah, I think what works in India is how do you make sure that a large audience is able to see your content. And in India, it's a slightly funny situation. You've got very heavy users who need an amazing living room experience. So they've got their Chromecasts and Apple TVs, and they have their televisions connected.
Smart TVs with Wi-Fi.
And smart TVs with Wi-Fi or whatever it is. So you've got one end of the spectrum which is looking at content or consuming content at that side. And on the other side, you've got people who are probably using some low-end smartphone, which may not be very smart, but is a touchscreen. And therefore, he's consuming content at that end, is getting very flaky bandwidth. Now, for us, the important thing as an industry leader is to make sure we are able to address that entire spectrum of audience. So if at a technology level you can work and make sure that you are able to address that entire spectrum, you're making sure a lot of consumers are getting into the habit. The second thing you need to do is to make sure that your content is right up there. You're bringing in the best content. So for example, the entire effort that we put behind originals way about 2 years back, we said, we need to bring some different flavor to the content that's available on digital and the OTT platform. And we started putting content out there and investing in that way early. In terms of sports and live sports, I don't know if you know, but we did about 2,500 football games live on the Sony Live app last year, and all of them are international games.
Yeah, you've got the UEFA Europa League, you've got the FIFA Under 17,
FIFA,
you've got
European,
the Football World Cup.
the whole thing. So if you're doing 2,000 plus live games on an app in India, it probably makes us the single largest network in terms of the live sport. So we've got a huge amount of stuff that we've done in the last few years, and that's been focused at how we can deliver that content for Indian audiences. And how can we do it in AVOD? Because if you look at most markets outside India, a lot of that content, they're all SVOD content.
Yeah.
And therefore, how do you scale an AVOD market? How do you create an AVOD market in India? How do you create monetization models for the Indian ecosystem is something that we...
Yeah, so is it, in terms of, has it turned cash positive? I'm not going to ask you for numbers. Yes or no? Or
Yes.
is it still, are you still in investment mode?
We are in investment phase, but yes, we are happy that we are positive.
Well, congratulations for that. Now, the kind of content you've aggregated content, the original content, and there's some original content which you have commissioned. So what is working better in terms of, is it the aggregated ones like shows by Array, shows by Dice, or is it some of the original content which you've commissioned to people?
So let me step back on the original thing. And when we started working on original content, we realized that putting original content is bringing in new users. It's driving far more loyal consumers because these are younger audiences who are trying to see some other content which is not the television content, and therefore they're trying to look at this as a new form of consumption and a new destination of consumption. So there was no doubt that we needed to do that. The challenge for us was, how do you scale that? How do you bring in lots of different moods and emotions, and how do you connect with a larger audience and with tastes? We could have never done it with the kind of pipeline that we had and the kind of ecosystem we have in India. It would have taken us a fairly long time, even, hats off to the Balaji system to be able to generate so many different originals, but, it takes a lot of effort. So what we went out and we said, while we will do some of the stuff and we'll drive the market on that, we will also encourage people who are creating original content to come on to our platforms and be able, onto our platform and be able to reach out to their consumers. So we now have about 8 to 10 independent content creators who are creating web shows, who are creating series, and are part of Sony Live. So that then gives us probably the largest basket of original content available in one destination, and therefore consumers have a choice. Digital is all going to be about choice. It's not like television where you're determining what the consumer will watch at what time.
So even if it's available on other platforms?
Even if it is available on other platforms, it's fine. Even if it is available at other platforms, there is no problem. The consumers will finally choose choice. They will say, where can I come search for the content that I like, and I have a variety. And therefore, it creates a marketplace, it creates an ecosystem which benefits everybody. Also, it helps advertisers, because then if they're looking for that audience and they want scale of that audience, this is one place where you can get across the different shows.
Yeah, so 33 million downloads. How many active users?
About 10 to 12 million.
That's fantastic. So, and you have a $399 for a 12-month pack. You have $49 for a monthly pack, $120 for 3 months. Which of these is working the best?
I think the 49 one.
Monthly pack.
Monthly packs.
And that is being used primarily on the mobile, or is it being used on
mobile?
Okay.
Most of it is mobile. So I think the subscription one in India is probably the slowest to take off. That's the toughest. I think in India, it's tough to take money out of the wallet and to do it consistently month after month. We don't still have the fairly reliable systems to be able to say, unlike the US, where the credit card system is fairly established to say, you swipe your card once, and every month on the first or X date, your amount will get debited. In India, people are still not used to it. The number of people who are ready to do that is a very small number.
Okay.
Therefore, the trade-off for us always is, should I focus on the advertising side, and therefore that's scaling significantly, or should I focus a lot on the subscription side? And I think at this point in time, given that we want to look at this from a long-term perspective, we will play both the sides and see which way the market heads.
Okay, now what do you see happening to the VOD and the OTT ecosystem? There's Facebook, which is going to be spending a lot of money. Amazon has just done Inside Edge, which is a large-scale production. Netflix is also coming up with Sacred Games. So do you see the new amount of money that these guys are spending on content becoming a benchmark, and users gravitating towards that? Or do you see the mass market, the stratification as was spoken about earlier by Vishal? There's a premium market, there's a middle market, and there's a mass market.
So it's a good sign that people now think that India is a big market. India is a large enough market to now put in the kind of money to get the right content out there. I think as somebody who's been in the digital space for the last 15, 17 years, this is great to see, and maybe I can see the inflection point somewhere, and I've been saying that here it comes, and maybe it's here. So with these international companies putting in so much of effort, it was earlier a 2 or 3 or 4 member race. It was some of us broadcasters who were putting in a lot of money and building.
It's limited money. I'm talking about the numbers here are about 20 times
which is great, which basically says that there is a market out there. It'll give us confidence to put in more and more and invest more and more. We see ourselves as a long-term player in this. We are very strong on the sports side. We are very strong on the content side. We churn out 8 to 10 hours of content every day. We are showing 10 to 12 new shows, new live sport events every day. So we are big players in this game. We'll have our own strengths. I'm sure the people who are coming in now with lots of money, they will have their own strength. But like we've seen in the e-commerce market, not everybody with a lot of money wins.
I understand. How important is the IPL for you?
Very important.
All right. On that note, thank you very much, Uday. Let's have a round of applause for Uday. Thank you. So Sony has been amongst the movers and shakers of the ecosystem really, really early on in the game. Thank you very much for what you've been doing to the digital video ecosystem, Uday.